To order the February 14th, 2023 Parks, Recreation, and Community Education Commission meeting. First item on the agenda, Commissioner update. Scott?
Moment. The OSRP committee met, and luckily Alicia has that on later in the schedule, so we can talk about that a little later.
I was sworn in to the OSRP earlier today as a at-large member.
Excellent.
Also attended a meeting with Alicia and the school committee or school administration, talking about the Indian Hill facility and discussing how to use that space and what will make the most sense. So that was a good discussion. Everybody seemed pretty positive about the opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's on the agenda for later as well. That's it for me. Minutes from January. Read them. No comments and direction.
From my end.
To make a motion to accept them.
Oh, I would like to make a motion that we accept last month's minutes. As it is.
Moved and seconded to accept the January Park Commission minutes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Donation approval?
Yeah. So we have been very fortunate that the Edward Paul Foundation has year after year given us donations for the Youth Scholarship Fund. So they again this year have donated $2,000 to go towards that the Youth Scholarship Fund.
Entertain a motion to approve the donation.
What's that?
You can make it to.
Oh, yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the donation from the LS Foundation for the sum of $2,000.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Approved. Thank you very much for the Edward
Yeah,
Foundation.
thank you.
I see.
That never happens.
And now we're on to something that may have some more. If we want to take this now, I don't know if there, if we expect to get other folks joining, we may want to hold off on this one for a little bit.
Here it is.
Oh, Kevin's trying to ring in.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Are you there?
You don't hear you, Kevin.
It's still connecting.
It's fine.
Okay. So let me, we'll do a screen share.
Kevin, you with us now?
Yep, can you hear me?
We can.
Sorry, guys, I thought this was the meeting we changed. I apologize.
I was in the same boat, but I figured it out slightly earlier than you.
Are you out to dinner right now, or are we have to go to dinner?
No, I wish I have COVID, so I'm home.
Oh, bummer.
Hey,
Not a way to celebrate
Yes.
the big city.
Happy Valentine's Day.
happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Been at home for what is it now? 3 to 5 days
Forever.
more.
3 to 6 weeks,
3 to
depending on
6
how long
weeks.
you're. People in my office are downloading for.
Oh, really?
Suspended.
You got it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Radius of me.
All right.
I've got it.
Not you.
Okay.
So perfect timing. We just popped into Long Lake Beach membership rates. So the rates that I have up here are from last year, from 22. And just did some basic finance stuff for the beach. So ultimately, we had around a net of about 12,000 for last year. Between the revenue put in, the beach wages and expenses. Just a couple things to note before we get into the conversation of the rates is the wages did increase by about 5.3% due to the implementation of the $15 minimum wage. So that is officially in effect. We also just purchased some new sailboats for 6,500. So we've got those guys coming in, so that's an expense we don't typically spend every year. So that's just something to think about, but Mr. Tim, you got anything you wanna?
Yeah, so I mean, as far as expenses go, we have another batch of sailboats we'll purchase. We've got 6 that we offloaded a couple weekends ago that are here. Not included in that purchase was the sails that go with them. So, you know, a couple $100 worth of sails that we have to purchase there in order to get those boats up and running. And then we're just waiting for probably it's going to end up being Roger Williams when they put their 6 420s that they're just waiting on delivery of their new boats, and they're have already kind of made a verbal commitment that if we're interested in them, we can grab them. So probably going to end up somewhere right in the range of $1,000 to $1,200 a boat for them, which is super reasonable for the condition that they're in. They've been used for 2 race seasons at the collegiate level for races only. So definitely some good opportunity. If we can, you know, actually get that executed, that'll be nice, because then we'll have, you know, essentially we'll have the 6 sunfish that are, you know, in good repair right now. We'll have the 420s, and then we'll have these other sailboats that we picked up, which are pretty unique, and they should be good for our beginners to use, and they're pretty low impact. They're made of a polymer rather than fiberglass. They're kind of, you know, pretty resistant. So hopefully those work out for us. As far as the payroll goes, you know, we should be somewhere in the $80,000 range. Last year we ran a little fat. Our aquatics director, you know, wasn't the best at cutting staff where we can. So hopefully we'll get that reined in a little bit. You know, and as far as net goes, we expect somewhere in that $12,000 to $15,000 range. One of the reasons that I was suggesting that we keep the rates the same this year is we had mentioned that a couple times in previous. I know that, you know, in speaking with Commissioner Morris, that you know, the thought is, you know, rather than have the big jumps, that we should really, you know, look at revisiting some sort of an annual increase based off things like that. But one of the things that we did last year was we were a little proactive when we came up to where we were to get us dialed in on that number, meaning that we kind of went to what we thought the threshold was. And in the past 2 years, since we've really jumped, we've done 2-year kind of increments and just kind of see where things were. As far as it goes, obviously we had, you know, similar numbers year over year that we had the previous year. Our sailing program continues to do well. That really kind of helps us be able to foot the bill for some of the other shortfalls that we have as far as wages go. And, you know, we can really, you know, start looking at other opportunities to improve snack shack offerings and, you know, some of the other stuff that we're doing. If we really do want to look at some other revenue opportunities down there. With that said, I mean, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Morris, because he did have an idea as far as senior passes that I think was worthy of the board hearing and kind of going over. Were you interested in?
No, I mean, I knew you and I talked, I knew you had, so I didn't even bother bringing it with me. But I guess my other question is, so based on what you just said, you're assuming we're gonna make between 12 and 15 again, just like last year?
Correct.
But there's a new, is that including the new sailboats at 6,500?
So
Or is that factored somewhere differently?
So as far as What do you mean is it factored differently?
We-
So we still have money left over from last year that we can spend down to zero. So we're not at zero yet. So everything that we bring in next year is revenue profit for next year. So you can assume the same revenue would come in.
So we initially had asked for capital funds to cover it. And it was approved for us to purchase it through our revolving funds, but was not supported through capital.
Right, so that's our surplus that we have. Essentially, once we buy all the boats, yes, we will be at a little bit of a deficit if we end up spending anywhere, over $6,000. And then that'll all, come in very quickly when we start past sales again in about 2 months. And that'll help us cover everything. We also are gonna open the sailing program and things like that. Now that the big thing with sailing is, I try to wait and open that up when I know how many boats it is, so we can, is it 10 participants, is it 18 participants? Because we really try to stick to that, no more than 2 on a boat. It just gets kind of messy, anything after that. We also kind of wait to make sure that we have the sailing instructors to facilitate the program.
So this would be the second year at these rates, all right?
Yeah, so this would be our second summer at these rates. I mean, we did decent last year. We saw a very minor dip in actual purchases, but we were, pretty much a wash as far as year over year in expenses or in revenue, because obviously we had come up so drastically. The biggest change was that we went to that $85 resident, but we capped it at the 5 members. So what you're really seeing is you're having more members who were not paying for a pass last year, now paying. We also saw a lot of those very large families that we had end up having like 2 household passes. So whether that was a vice of it was actually 2 families, or it was, families that were including cousins and stuff like that. Because we did see, as we we're going through this, different household accounts that were created. There were definitely, a lot of passes that we printed, which, with families having passes before, we had a lot more people this year who were like, oh yeah, I need a pass and things like that. So there were a lot more new memberships than we've had previous, probably before, since we started rolling out the card program. Other expenses that we're not going to see this year too is we did the beach stand last year. Doesn't really seem like we need to do that this year. So that's, $3,000 that we won't be spending this year as well. Any questions on the rates? Kevin?
Nope, I have no questions.
All right, so I would just say maybe if we can ask for a vote on the rates, and then we'll just kind of discuss operating hours, because I know that there was some conversation on that in the past, and just wanted to entertain everybody's thoughts on that.
I will make a motion to accept.
Kevin, hang on a sec.
Oh,
I said, can we, since this is, I guess they're the same as they were last year, but just in the interest of them being out for the public to comment on, save a vote till next month, or do we need to get them in a book? Or
Well, ultimately, we do need to solidify it. Typically, when we do this, we'll do it in December, so we've kind of put it off for a while. So it would be better because it allows us to be able to figure out the marketing. We would like it to be in, the brochure if that's possible. So yeah, ultimately.
Okay.
Yeah. Please, thank you.
Go ahead, Kevin.
all right, I'll make a motion to accept the proposed 2023 beach rates.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, and since we have Kevin now, we'll do a roll call. Kevin,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well.
All right. So assuming everybody has had the opportunity to kind of look over what we have going on here. Typically we can only operations from Memorial Day on through the end of school. So that would be the weekend of the 17th right now.
Those up, Tim.
What's that?
I've got it up there.
So as far as full operations go, that's June 23rd. The intention is to try to stay open through Labor Day weekend. For the past 2 years, we've actually closed that last weekend, and August has been our last one. Just with our college staffing and everything that we've been able to kind of facilitate. So we haven't actually been open that last week. That first weekend of September, for the past 3 years now since COVID, summer that we opened up. As far as hours of operation go, this is where, I just wanted to leave it open to some conversation. We have had issues in the past where we've had some issues after the lifeguards have gone off duty. The reality of the situation is it's really tough for, one person or even two people to enforce kind of anything after hours. That's really something that, we need to lean heavily on the police to do because they are the enforcement agency. I think that over the years, the relationship has become better, but I still think that there is, room for some help in those as far as like pass enforcements and stuff like that. It's very difficult, same thing for one officer to be able to do those kind of things. But, really it's easier for the police department to enforce those or just clear the beach period than it is for us to, leave two college kids out there at the mercy of, what's kind of going on. So, typically what we do is lifeguards go off duty at 5:30, and then snack shack and everybody kind of falls out of there at 6 o'clock. The only caveat to that is that, so that lifeguard on Friday and Saturday is still 5:30. Lifeguards are always 10 to 5:30. So sorry about that misprint. What?
Which one's wrong?
Second.
Fridays.
Friday, Saturday.
Our lifeguard hours never change.
That was from website.
So anyway, the lifeguard hours are always 10 to 5:30. Lifeguards knock off at 5:30, 6 o'clock. By the time trashes are done, we bank out the snack shack, clean up the park, and then lock everything down. So everything's out of there.
So snack shack still 6 then too.
Yeah, snack shack's always 6. That's, just when we bank out and lock everything up. So, and the only time change that we have throughout the week is 11 to 6 on Sundays. Typically, we don't see anybody there till about noon on Sundays. So it just is pushing that back the hour just kind of saves us on the payroll for time that people aren't there.
Would it be easier to plan to close a weekend earlier since the last 3 years you've had to? Would it be easier to start that way and extend it if you wanted to? Or does that make it worse for you?
It does, because we'd have to come back and you guys would have to say, oh, all right, you guys can stay out that extra week or extra, yeah. So if we do, it's always that we're playing that game of we'll ask for these parameters and hopefully maybe we'll have some younger staff and be able to actually stay open through the beginning of September. But we're kind of at the mercy of how many college kids we have.
Gotcha.
I don't really think it actually matters that much, but
I didn't know if it made it hard for you guys or not.
no, I mean, either way, we're making a decision. We're gonna stay open an extra week, or we're gonna be closing. I think to your point, it's easier to say, hey, we're gonna close the state and have the, hey, we're open an extra week kind of thing. But yeah, either one works. It's just, like I said, for the past 3 summers, we haven't been able to facilitate that.
So no one's giving you any flack about closing.
No, and typically Labor Day weekend, everybody's kind of gone. That Labor Day Monday.
Complain, hey, this is what really what I was.
Yeah, Labor Day Monday, we're not open anyway, and most, that's typically your busiest day because sports. Everybody who does play sports is on Saturday and Sunday playing, and then Monday people are typically home. So Monday tends to be the busier of the days anyway, but we've never historically been.
Do we need to approve these or are they just?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
We'll make a motion that we approve the Long Lake Beach operation hours as presented. With the adjustments of the Friday and Saturday hours to 5:30 and 6 respectively.
Gotcha. I'll send that.
Yeah, motion made and seconded, roll call vote. Kevin,
Yep.
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Aaron,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well.
All right. So just a quick update on the program coordinator position. The job's been posted since December 30th. So we've gone through the first round of interviews. And we'll be moving on to round 2. And hopefully after that, we'll be able to have a new staff member. So yeah, that's kind of the real quick update on that. Questions, comments, concerns?
Special events.
All right, so we are back into special event season. We are super excited that Ties and Tiaras is back. We have at some request of the public and the commission, we've revamped the deal, and it is, Ties and Tiaras, anybody grade suggested K through 5 with a parental sweetheart or chaperone can come with them. Anybody who's special to them. So it is open to boys and girls. So, we're really saw some good numbers. We were at 67 registrations, so over 100 and almost rapidly closing into 130, 150 people. Typically, between now and then, we'll see 30 to 40 more registrations from, 3 days out to the day of the event. It's pretty standard. We are having the event catered by El Forno, so everybody will have dinner. We have all sorts of fun and games, and DJ Mike will be doing all sorts of giveaways and prizes, and we will have concessions for sale. So it's always a great evening. We are moving it to the middle school this year. So in case anybody asks, that is a new thing. We just felt with the larger potential crowd, it gave us some extra time. One of the issues that we always run into having this event on a Friday versus a Saturday is that Tiger's Den doesn't get done till 6. So middle school gives us the opportunity to also alleviate that measure. So the dance will take place. Doors will open at 5:30. You can come and get dinner if you're interested in having dinner. Dancing from 6 to 8 along with all the prizes, $30 a ticket for an adult and a child, and then $10 for each additional child who's attending the event. We have had, multiple questions like, oh, can, 2 parents come with a child? You can, but we, at that point, we really ask that, you're coming and, you have 2 children. If you want to do that, we do need you to pay for the larger ticket because of the food and everything else if you plan on eating. Obviously, when we factor all this in, adults who eat more than children. So that was one question that we did get a couple times this year. Other than that, it should be a wonderful event, and we'll excited to update you guys on it next month.
Right. So we've got review of finances. So again, like I said, we're into the how do you want to say, the positive side of the year. So we've been doing really well this last month. We definitely hit over the 100,000 mark, which is pretty amazing. The brochure is going to be coming out this Friday. So all the programs will be open and ready for folks to be able to sign up. And the other really positive thing is when we look at the graph from MyRec, the revenue has been anywhere between 15 to 50% higher than it was last year. So we're definitely doing really well with the programming. So it's been pretty amazing. The enterprise is officially closed. So tomorrow night at the town meeting, they will make a motion to rescind the enterprise, so it will be gone forever, so to speak. So yeah, that's it. Pretty good. Let's see. So open space and recreation plan update. So Aaron, feel free to hop in with anything. But we did officially create the request for quotation. And it was finalized and sent out to contractors. The deadline for submissions is the 21st of February by 4 p.m. The next meeting will be on the 28th. So we'll be able to review those contracts and hopefully be able to choose a contractor to write that report. I was just writing in that we had still an open seat, but Saul was appointed by the select board as the citizen at large position for the open space and recreation plan. And that's kind of the update with that. Anything you want to add, Aaron?
Oh, that was perfect.
So Indian Hill plan updates. So this past Saturday, we had an open house at 36 King Street, or formerly known as the Indian Hill Music Center. We had quite a bit of a turnout. It was really amazing that, you know, the public was coming out, asking questions, being able to see the building that we are putting out to see if the town will purchase at the town meeting tomorrow night. There's a wonderful document that Ryan Ferrara put together, which is frequently asked questions. So we will have those available at town meeting for folks that would like to take a look at that. It's also out on social media and website. Yeah, if people want them tomorrow, physical copy, we'll have them. And I think tonight, the one thing we did not do was, because this kind of came up relatively quickly, getting support from the Park Commission on this purchase. So that's something that, you know, I wanted you guys to be able to ask questions. Just see what your thoughts are, and then hopefully, you know, if you're in agreement for support of that article, then we can take a vote and we'll let them know that it's supported by you. It is supported by ParkComm. They voted to encourage this to move forward. So.
And the select board as well.
The select board as well. Yep.
You guys designed this part, like where all the rooms are?
Yeah, so I worked with the school department, and that was something that we went through as kind of a fun little meeting. So we wanted to figure out, you know, hey, if we're going to use this space, what's going to be the best way to be able to do so. So we looked at, you know, first floor, second floor, all of those things. And ultimately, it came out that, you know, it made more sense for the school department or the central office to be on the second floor. And, you know, they have really thought through how they want the flow of that to be. We would have Parks and Rec offices down on the main floor. And then we would also have spaces available for conference rooms, for program space, meeting space, things like that we would share with them. And then the basement, we would have the club, which is currently on the third floor of 41 Shattuck. We would have that housed into the basement of that. This building also offers us space and the ability to work with the schools to create more tennis courts and a pickleball court option, where, you know, we went through that process before in fall of trying to get Cooper Farm as that location. So, you know, this being abutted up next to the high school makes it something that is a very special gem to have. The other piece, and this is one part of it that I think a lot of people didn't realize, There's a special amendment on this property, which means that it is a tax exempt, only a tax exempt owner. So it would have to be a religious organization or another nonprofit organization or an educational program similar to what Indian Hill Music School was, or could be owned by the town and be an asset for us for the future. So it's definitely not something where you would have a business go in and be able to get that tax revenue off of this building. So hopefully that answers some questions. You guys, I'll throw it out there. Any other questions that you might have?
So I'm not a huge fan of the move. What do you think the likelihood? So I think where the office is now is like, prime real estate, where you've got the two schools, the library, everything in walking distance, everything really close together.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you're going to lose kids in the club and, you lose a lot of that foot traffic? Because that is not an easy place to get to by foot.
Right.
Once you get to the entrance to the high school, if you're walking from the middle school or the wherever, sort of like, your current location,
Mm-hmm.
it is not an easy trek down that road. You've got to cross twice just to stay on crosswalks to get to the high school location. And then there's no sidewalk from the entrance of the high school to where Indian Hill is. I know you could walk sort of around the back and go by where the buses park and the tennis courts are.
Yeah.
But I'm just not a huge fan of the big move.
So let me clarify. So ultimately, the space that we're in, that building, is no longer going to be able to house town hall. So it's getting to the point where with the codes, we're going to get to a place where if you put so much money into the building, we would have to bring the whole building up to code, which is going to cost an extraordinary amount of money. So the plan from the town administrator's office and from the select board is that we would try to find places for these other offices to go. So right now, it would be that the central office and our department would move over to 36 if we would purchase it. The senior center is being built this coming summer. And so that leaves the core of town hall, which really slims down the, there's Kate, that slims down what the needs would be for town hall after that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at just really, they could move into some sort of office space. So whether that's already office space that exists in town, or that's something that's going to be built, that I have no idea. But ultimately, that building will no longer be efficient to use for the purpose of being town hall. So that being said, the second part of that is the being able to get the kids to 36 King Street. So we've had conversations with the school department and they are amenable to talking about transportation. So if that means that we have to figure out busing, there's late busing options for the kids to go to some of the other programs or go home. So that's something that we will work out with the school department over the next year, because if we buy this, it's not something we're going to move into tomorrow. There's still work that has to be done. There's a lot of things that have to be able to be figured out. So, and this is one of those. Additionally, we also have the vans. So currently, when we transport the kids places around town, we use the vans. So, ultimately, would we want the kids to walk or ride their bikes to the program? No. So we would figure out ways to be able to transport them there.
I mean, it's all well and good and I understand it, but you know, I think that moving from that, so let me, before I say that, what is the plan for that? So the building's gonna get raised or whatever, it's gonna, you know, because everyone's gonna move out of there. What's the plan for that location after that?
Right, I believe the interest would be to turn that into affordable housing units.
Okay, I just like, I don't know, I think it's not a convenient location or a good location for our offices and sort of our program. I understand, you know, the schools are amenable to transportation talks. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. You know, there's going to be a cost associated with that. And I'm sure the schools are not going to want to foot that entire cost. They'll say, sure, we can add you to the bus route, but you're going to have to put in some money or something like that. So I don't know. You know, I will, it sounds like it's, you know, supported by folks who, you know, by the select board and by FinCom, you know, it seems like it's going to happen. I'm just not a huge fan of it.
Do we have to be out of Shattuck Street?
None of that stuff has even been discussed, none of it.
But realistically, like we even if we're to be removed from it, we're gonna grow out of that building.
Right.
Within a couple of years.
Yeah,
Safely.
absolutely.
It's
I
not
mean,
like there's a lot of other. Like, what would where would another option be around time here?
I know, I would do the same thing, yeah.
What would, like, where's another like spot around town that you can think of, Kevin, that could potentially be a better option? Because it sounds like Shattuck Street is just not reality, no matter what, whether we like it or not. Even if we wanted to stay there, we're not going to.
I mean, I don't have that, you know, I don't know. I didn't realize that the building, you know, the plan for the building was going to be to raise it and put affordable housing there.
I don't think they're gonna raise it. I think they're actually going to use the structure that's already there and build housing or apartments within it.
Okay.
Yeah,
They've select board sent out a request for information
Right.
to get sort of concepts or proposals
Right.
from developers and nonprofits to
see what it could be.
use that building for deeply affordable housing.
You know, I mean, if it can be renovated for affordable housing, it can be renovated for town use.
But the difference is if a developer does it, they're the ones paying for it. If we do it, we're the ones paying for it.
Well, that can be all rolled in. I mean, you know, that you can, and listen, you know, I guess I'm just voicing my, I don't like it. I think, you know, with a developer, you can say, yeah, you can have, you know, 80% of this, you're going to build 20% of it as a, you know, what's that called? A host agreement kind of thing. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but you know, it's all doable, you know? I'm not a fan of the location. It sounds like it's, you know, most likely going to happen anyway. And, you know, I will, you know, support it because it seems like it's what's going to happen. I'm just not a huge fan of it.
So Kevin, the one thing that it does open the door for us to do, I mean, just kind of to point out some positives that we don't have at the Shattuck Street site is, you know, we'll have the ability to have, you know, eventually we'll have all of our tennis courts, hopefully 4, all of our pickleball courts, hopefully 4, you know, which is huge for programming on so many levels, whether it's, you know, senior pickleball or, you know, the kids programs that we're running, especially summer camps. It gives us the ability to be able to run those type of sports programmings, anything that can happen on a hard court surface, and give us the ability to have air conditioning in bathrooms, which we don't have access to. The other piece is that we're now within walking distance to softball, baseball, and soccer fields, which we don't currently have access to, which, you know, is right up a set of staircases from there. And, you know, in the future, you know, this building is kind of a steal right now. If we all tried to say, hey, let's build this building from scratch, we'd probably be talking about a $30 million price tag. But in the future, you know, with the right type of, you know, forethought and planning and everything else, you know, this building sits on almost 5 acres of land. And the reality of the situation is to, you know, if the need arises, there's the ability to put, you know, some sort of a field house on the back and, you know, have a basketball court or a soccer, you know, and some sort of a soccer surface that we can use for the winter where, you know, youth sports don't have access to those things. And, you know, from a town perspective and, you know, in a town that a lot of money has been spent and nobody can deny that. And, you know, building new buildings, it's an opportunity for, you know, to get in at the ground floor to spend a lot less money than, you know, anybody would spend and, you know, really kind of look at this as, you know, what can we do in the future? And I think those are the positives that we need to look at that aren't at Shattuck Street. I agree with you as, you know, especially somebody who, you know, helped renovate the third and the second floor and everything else. You know, there is a special place. It is nice. It's beautiful. It's more space that we had. And, you know, yeah, but I think, is it going to give us opportunity for growth in a decade? No. And does this? It does. And, you know, fortunately, you know, yourself included, we're all rec professionals, and us trying to figure out how to get a kid from point A to point B is really kind of the easiest part of our day sometimes.
Yep, I mean, all valid points. I mean, I just wanted, again, just to bring up my sort of, you know, concerns.
It's appreciated.
This is. Go ahead, Karen.
Okay.
So this is Kate. Was there talk about possibility of moving Camp T to the building in the future as well? Or was that?
No, I mean, ultimately, Camp T, part of the magic of it is that they're able to walk down to the beach. So that's something ultimately, you know, we want to keep that. If in the future something would happen, I don't know, just say for some reason we weren't able to use the schools anymore, this would potentially give us an option to have a different location to have Camp T. Not that we necessarily would want to have it there.
Okay.
Whereas where we are right now, if we weren't able to get in the schools, we just wouldn't be able to run Camp T, you know? So it again gives us more of an ability for future. And that's kind of where this building is to be able to help us into the future. Not to deal with any issues that we have currently. So that is not the plan, but if
Right,
like
cool.
like backup plan C or D, like we could use it if we needed to.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I had some of the same
Yeah, go ahead.
thoughts Kev had, you know.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot right now, but, you know, just heard. It's almost as if this opportunity came a couple of years down the road as the program got bigger, but
Right.
I feel like, you know, a lot of these things, you know, the town keeps growing the way it is, the
Yep.
anticipation keeps growing the way it is.
Yep.
We're gonna run out of options where we are.
Yes.
So I mean, it's one of those things where it's happening now, right? Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's now, or I guess now or never.
Now or never. Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not to play the fence, but I can certainly see a lot of stuff Kev was
Right.
kind of talking from, I was going from, but then you also hear, you know, of the future and what the possibilities could be.
Right. Yeah.
And to have a facility like that at this moment, you know, maybe.
Yeah.
Tough not to take advantage of it, so.
It- And when you start to think about, well, ultimately, we aren't going to stay at Shattuck Street, right? So we then would have to find land and purchase it. Then you'd have to build a building. And like, when you start adding up all of those costs, it's just like astronomical when you already have this, a really excellent size for a building that has great bones and can support 2 departments right now. I think it is kind of like a no-brainer. Is it the perfect location? No, I agree with Kevin on that, but there's a lot of positives that come out of it. And, like Tim was saying, access to fields, access to, hopefully we'll get to build those pickleball courts and the tennis courts. It does have, a lot of people don't realize, if you get to go out to the property, there's a lot of open space. It's beautiful. I mean, you could have a playground there. You just go out there and there's all kinds of possibilities. So.
And I haven't
It's
had
good.
a chance to get inside yet, but I
Mhm.
mean, inside, fairly, I think we said it last time. I mean, I don't know, obviously it's up to date with codes, but I mean, a lot of these things
Yeah,
that are planned here, I mean, a lot of renovations to make these things happen. Is it just maybe some paint?
a lot of
Is it
people
like-
have that question.
It's a paint, or is it, I mean, we talked
Right.
knocking down walls, are we redesigning things? I'm just
Right.
curious how that looks from the inside.
Yeah.
Compared to the drawing here.
I mean, so we had the open house and we had people come through, and I mean, the structure of it's really good. They did an assessment of it before they put in an offer to purchase it, so we know that it's a sound purchase.
Yeah, I was just curious, like
Yeah.
the breakout.
Yeah, but if you look at I know this is kind of a smaller version, but essentially we would be keeping most of the space the same. I think there's probably like 2 walls that you would want to like cut out so that you could create a bigger like program or
Meeting room.
yeah, something like that. But it's all kind of minimal work. I think I know the school department was thinking about wanting to put in like a kitchen up on the 2nd floor. Not like, we're not talking industrial, like the senior diner. We're talking about like, just something for people that are there, staff kitchen. So I don't think it's going to be anything that's astronomical, because we really could just, almost move in and use it as it is. So, but yeah, there's things that we would need to do.
Yeah, there's the one room in the atrium that was kind of proposed. That would be an addition.
Right, and that's a maybe.
That's a maybe, right?
Right, we don't know. So the idea is there's a really big lobby entrance. And the idea was to be able to create a smaller meeting room. So we would just have to put up some walls and, cordon it off. But I think most of it is pretty minimal, but we would have to do a feasibility study to find out what the ultimate cost would be. Great question. Anybody else?
How long till we grow out of this based on the 700, whatever
What?
units that we've got going in?
Oh, Lord, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one.
Or the timing of that, or the,
Yeah. I don't know. I don't, that's a lot of stuff that schedule of many of those things is just not even there yet. So,
Let's say we just at a normal incremental rate of the town going, how
Yeah.
long will this building hold up? Because I'm not hold up like
I
structurally,
know what
like,
you
because I know, we know the club is smaller than it is at Shattuck Street, right?
Yes.
yes. However, with that, you're getting gym space that we don't already have. You are getting a separate room where people can do homework and have kind of like a quiet space. And there are those breakout areas where, you could do arts and crafts and all of those things. Plus, when the weather is nice, all that space outdoors, a ton of space.
so I guess that's one, is the capacity of the club limited by space or limited by staffing or by something else?
Right now, it's more of, I would say, staffing, and with the after-school program, you kind of see the numbers go down a little bit towards the end of the school year. Because sometimes, especially the middle school kids, parents get used to them being at home, being on their own, right? So they're more comfortable with that. So I would say sometimes us being able to have staff throughout the year is more of a harder task. But I do think that this space would be comparable to what we would need in the future.
We need to add any fencing in, the kids are gonna be outside at all.
So we have to
Is it a code
look
thing?
at that. No,
I mean, there's some fencing in schools.
yeah,
I was saying, cause where it's located.
it's not a prison. Fair enough.
I mean, I,
Sure. I'm looking for bars.
no, there's not, no, there's nothing. No, if you're asking like from a licensed camp perspective or anything, there's
Yes.
nothing like
No.
that.
Okay. Thank you, that was all I needed.
Safety aspect, if there were like, 300 Kings, a perfect example. So like if on the basketball courts, we put up some fencing to keep them rolling down into that like trench. Yeah, trench, whatever you want to call it. So for safety purposes, if we needed to, we would, but it's pretty flat open.
And are we gonna have like someone, so say we do purchase it.
Mhm.
Before that happens, does somebody go look at what the water situation that we walked into when we first viewed it?
Mhm.
Or is that after we own it?
No, yeah, they've already had those conversations. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was the problem?
I mean, I'm not
There's
privy
that
to that.
drain right
but
outside
yeah.
the drain. There's the drain outside the storm door.
That's all it was.
That's all.
Yeah.
Just nobody's been there for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of planning and transition to be done after.
Yeah.
After this happens, we can continue discussing that and how that goes, but
Right.
I guess at this point, if there is there any other discussion before we entertain a motion on supporting this article?
Both Aaron and I are like, "Oh." Kevin, Kate,
I would just like to say, I agree that the timing might not be ideal since the town, since spending, but on the other hand, land is not something we can create in the future. So it seems that this is our moment in time to seize this opportunity for future planning.
well said, lady.
Thank you.
Okay, would anybody care to make a motion?
Make a
Article
motion
7.
that we support Article 7. Purchase of formerly known as.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second to support the Article 7. Roll call, Kevin,
Yep.
Kate,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. More on policy for next month.
What's through? Yes, so I have not been able to get to a memorial policy. I am extremely sorry. But for March, I will put one with table so we can take a look at that and start to figure that out before, we get more requests coming through. So that will be tabled for next month. The one piece of new business, we also would like to post for an administrative on-call position. I think ultimately with Kelsey being out with maternity leave and, we really do need to get somebody in that space that's going to be able to start learning the role and, hopefully we'll be able to come in like 2 days a week. So that's something that we would like to post and try to get it filled as soon as possible. So
Do we not get someone 5 days?
we do. So Kelsey will come back, but she's gonna work 3 days.
Oh, okay, so we'll have those.
So, yeah, Kelsey will still stay as the office coordinator. But we still would need somebody to be there during office hours for the full week. So yeah, we would need to find somebody that can work 2 days a week.
When's Kelsey coming back?
She will be back on March 13th. Another month. Yeah.
So what's happening now? Is it just the board
It's us.
rotating through?
Got it. Yeah, we had a senior tax work off person that was helping out on Mondays and Wednesdays. And another that was helping out or is still helping out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But we're getting to the point now with the programming, we're implementing a new software change for all of the documents, so camp docs. So we really do need someone to come in and really assist the program coordinators to start organizing all of that stuff. And being able to, communicate with the parents, because them doing all of that on top of all of the other things and being at, some of these programs like skiing, they're pretty much Tuesday and Wednesday, Monday nights, they've got cornhole. So, they're putting in a lot of hours. So to be able to support them would be a huge, huge thing.
Something else is nasty, but it's gone from my brain, so.
That's okay. They'll come back.
Do you need an approval for this or?
Thank you.
I'd make a motion for the posting of an administrative on-call position.
I'll second that.
I'm giving it to Kate. She hasn't got one yet.
All right, moved and seconded. Kate,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yeah,
Scott,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well.
Oh, I know what it was. Do we still have a senior volunteer?
So, yes, Marilyn is still there, but Paul did finish 8 hours.
We got another person after Paul, or how did that go?
So that's why we should just honestly hire somebody to be there full time.
Oh, yeah.
So
In addition to that, I didn't know if we still could get another.
we could, if we wanted
It's
to.
not, it's not helpful. Marilyn does a fantastic job because she's done the paperwork, and the reality situation is, unfortunately, we're transitioning away from doing everything in-house by adopting camp docs.
Right.
The reality situation is, Paul did a great job.
So they were doing
But
camp docs. stuff,
they're not,
Future.
They're not.
They're,
We need
they're not
somebody.
even there yet.
Yeah.
But that's what they were, the transition is what they've done now is what.
No, the transition was unfortunately barely treading water and being able to answer the phones and take messages, which is not even a quarter of what needs to be done. It's not even half the thing. And the issue that we're running into is that, stopping for an hour and a half to 2 hours out of the day to take phone calls, to submit things into MyRec. This is our busiest time of year. From the time that we open camp and everything in January 1st to the time that, we end camp in August, it's pretty much straight out. We're putting together our brochure now. We're trying to get all the flyers done. And the reality situation is, without having somebody there from 9 a.m. to 4 o'clock to answer phones, to know MyRec, to know all the paperwork and everything else is absolutely, a burden on the department. It's unfair to Kaz and Brent, and they're really, finally starting to speak up and voice their frustration about it, because the reality is it's something that we should have taken care of back in September when we knew we were going to have a vacancy, and we didn't do it the right way. And it's really caused everything to kind of suffer.
So we know we need a bunch, so it sounds like we should not continue with the volunteering. Is that what I'm
The
hearing?
volunteering is great for
Oh, okay.
the mundane tasks.
Help, but that's not, we need somebody that's,
Correct. Yes, I understand it's two separate things. I just didn't know if the other mundane task of having two was more beneficial than one. Not
If we
to
weren't
take the
switching to
actual-
camp docs, Marilyn, is very capable of putting everything into everybody's folders and doing it. But the problem is we're completely changing the system.
Correct.
And you
So-
now need a computer and you have to have access
So
to
we're not
vet all of this stuff.
So we're not gonna meet Maryland with go to camp docs.
There's things that,
we would find other things. for
there's
her.
definitely
So
other.
there are
pieces.
mundane things that she can do.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, she just filed all the
But
postcards.
there's not enough mundane team for two people. That's all I'm trying to get.
We just need one person.
Okay. That's all
to
I need.
actually, you know, and the problem we're running into is by the time this is even posted, we're a month down the road of nothing.
Yeah, no, this is separate from what I'm asking about. I just didn't know we needed 2 volunteers for Monday work. That was really all I cared about. But it sounds like we don't need 2 volunteers for Monday work.
We need somebody who can answer phones, book people in my rec and get summer camp and everything else set up and get us to the finish.
That's finished. In addition.
We are hiring, if you can tell.
Anybody?
Looks great.
Hmm?
Looks great.
It's the thing on the side that's the important part.
Oh, during meeting.
That, yeah, that was the thing on the side.
I'm like, great. Okay, do we need to approve the hours? I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All right, Kevin.
Yep.
Kate,
All I get-
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
All right,
everybody.
good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
You
You
too.
too.
Thanks.